Okay, so all of that B-roll you just saw was shot using the DJI Ronin RSC2, and this thing has just blown my socks off. This thing is absolutely incredible. And at first I was really unsure if I was making a mistake by going to the DJI, because for the last few months or so I've been using the Weebill S, and this within itself is an absolutely incredible gimbal. It is compact, it packs a punch, and it is everything a lot of people look for in a gimbal. So ultimately, we're going to be looking at why I have decided to go to the DJI. We're going to be breaking down these two gimbals, looking at the features of both, the build quality, and we're also going to be doing some side-by-side tests as well. So should we just jump straight into it and start from the top and look at the build quality and all that stuff. In terms of build quality, the DJI certainly takes it here because it's made out of steel and aluminium, so it doesn't sacrifice on durability or ruggedness, whilst the Weebill S is made out of plastics, which isn't bad, but it just feels less durable. However, the advantage here with the Weebill, because it's made out of plastic, is it is much lighter and a lot easier to transport. It comes in at about 900 grams, just under a kilogram, whilst the DJI is about 1.2 kilograms, so about 6.6 pounds. In terms of payload, this is also where it gets really interesting because both devices are quoted to be able to take up to 3 kilograms. Now, you consider the size of the Weebill S and it's able to take such heavy cameras. If you are on the go, again, it just makes this a much more appealing option. Now let's have a look at the battery life of both of these devices, and this is where I think there are advantages and disadvantages to both. So starting with the DJI, the battery life is quoted to last 14 hours. However, this is always taken with a grain of salt for me because it depends on so many different variables like the weather, is it set up correctly, and you know, things like that. And the battery itself is integrated into the body, so you can't actually swap it out and change the battery. However, you can charge it on the go whilst using a power bank and a Type-C cable. On the other hand, the Weebill S has a battery life that will last 12 hours, but you can't charge it on the go whilst using a Type-C cable. However, the batteries on the Weebill S are interchangeable. So you can get these, more of these batteries right here, and just swap them out whenever they die, and then use a power bank for the charger to charge the other ones with a Type-C cable if you want to go again. So I think here, the Weebill S has a little bit more of an advantage over the DJI. In terms of the button placement, I much prefer them on the DJI rather than the Weebill S, and that's because with the DJI you have this massive grip right here and you have the screen right here, so I can see all my settings on the fly and I can adjust everything with just my thumb. I can access the menu, I can move the joystick, I can change the mode option, I can press the record button, everything with just my thumb, and it's really easy to adjust those settings on the fly, on the go, whilst you're shooting a certain whatever you're shooting. With the Weebill S, it's a little bit more difficult because the buttons are all right here. So when you're shooting, your hand is covering all the buttons, which can be a bit annoying because when you want to maybe change something, you have to take your hand off, stop shooting, then adjust everything, and it just takes a little bit more time. And again, sometimes you might accidentally press a button and change certain parameters of something without you actually knowing, and then you're having to change those parameters back to how they were. It hasn't been a major issue for me, it's just something to bear in mind that I much prefer how everything's laid out with the DJI. A feature that I really like with the DJI is having user profile settings that you can completely customize for your own shooting strategies and methodology. So for me, my first one is on pan follow, my second one on 360 roll, and then my third one on portrait mode. And you don't get this on the Weebill S, so if you wanted to shoot 360 mode and you're in pan follow mode, you'd have to press a number of these buttons in sequence to be able to access that. And it just makes things a little bit more slower and a little bit more harder to dial in all those settings on the Weebill S, whilst the DJI just remains a little bit more user friendly. Now the next feature is a big advantage with the Weebill S, and that is the underslung mode. The underslung mode on the Weebill S definitely beats the DJI. I mean, watch this, right? So I'm in normal mode now and I can just go into underslung mode like that. So simply, so quickly, and the best thing is as well, you have this tripod here. I do actually recommend buying another one of these, and you can put it right here, and then you can use it in an underslung mode a lot easier, just like that. And for me, that is just fantastic. It gives you another way of using the gimbal, and it's just so easy to go from that to that. Whilst the DJI does have something similar, but it just takes a little bit more time to set up. Okay, so we've got the camera set up on the DJI, and I'm going to show you how to get into the briefcase, flashlight mode, whatever you want to call it. So you have to undo this right here, and then what you have to do is basically break the gimbal in half. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Do that, and now we are in that briefcase mode, and then all I need to do from here is move this tripod to here, and I'm in a similar mode to how the Weebill S works. It is a little bit more fiddly, does take a little bit more time to set up, but it is equally as good when the camera decides not to be upside down and think it's in Australia. Now, to balance things out with the underslung mode, a feature that the DJI has but the Weebill S doesn't is a vertical mode. So say for example you're a content creator on social media platforms like Instagram and you're doing stories and reels, this vertical mode might be really handy for you, and I have used it myself and it works really well. Now both of these gimbals are aimed towards portability as well, but I think the DJI is convincingly outdone by the Weebill S. This thing can just go in so many different more camera bags, it's so easy to transport, whilst this one doesn't do a bad job when it's folded down, but it does still take up a lot of space. Luckily I'm using the Lowy Pro 450 AW2 camera bag, and even then I have to make some adjustments in the camera bag to actually allow this thing to fit. Alright, so we've looked at the build quality and the features of both of these gimbals, but it's now time to do some proper head-to-head testing to see which one comes out on top with some stabilization tests. Now to make this fair, I used the same camera lens combo for both of these gimbals, using the Sony a7R4 with the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 lens. They were both balanced correctly, calibrated and all that kind of stuff, but now let's just roll the test and see which one comes out on top. There you go, there was some really interesting side-by-side tests. Which one do you think came out on top? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, I'm a little bit biased towards the DJI because I bought it to replace the Weebill, but I thought those tests were a little bit closer than I was actually anticipating. So it really shows how good the Weebill S is as well. Now there was one more test I wanted to do, and it was kind of inspired from a YouTuber, you might have heard of him, called Peter McKinnon, some Canadian. Basically he did a test where he was running. Actually, I'll let another Curtis explain. You know in Peter McKinnon's video when he's running through at the forest and holding the gimbal one hand? I'm going to try that as well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get anywhere near as good a result as that, but we'll give it our best shot. So after the Peter McKinnon running through the forest kind of test, I definitely think the DJI outdid the Weebill S, but it was very close. But I think that's also to be expected from the DJI, considering the massive motors they have on it and also the extra price you are paying for the DJI. Now speaking of the price, you can buy the Weebill S from Amazon for £319. However, if you shop around, you can buy it brand new from other retailers for under £300. The DJI, on the other hand, is going to cost quite a lot more than the Weebill S. You're looking at about maybe £380. However, I was able to get mine for about £318 because I used something called Laptop Direct, and they were selling one of these things technically used but brand new because it had only been opened out of the box then put back in. It had never been turned on. The screen protectors for the LCD screen, it was still there and everything. So I saved myself over £50, and then with that £50 saved, I was able to put that onto DJI Care. So basically, if anything does go wrong, this is fully covered. So if you are in the UK, maybe check out Laptop Direct and save yourself a bit of money. Alright, so to wrap things up, both of these gimbals, right, are fantastic. But if your ultimate aim is to have portability whilst having small, compact and light form factor, then the Weebill S is the top dollar and is still the best gimbal to go for. However, like me, if you don't mind having a slightly larger package but also the ability to have better stabilization, better inbuilt features into a gimbal that's also a lot more durable, then the Ronin RSC2 is that complete package, and I'm really satisfied with the results I've been able to get whilst using this gimbal. So that's everything I've got left to say about these two gimbals. So the last thing to do today before we end the video is have a little look through the hashtag CP photos. Alright, let's get screen recording going and let's just jump straight into it. And our first photograph today, this one right here by Yasmin. That is incredible. The Boek and everything on that shot, the creativity, the reflections, all just work well together, just combinate perfectly. That is fantastic. I love this one here. That is one hell of a product shot. I love that with the lighting and the reflections, and it just brings so much attention to that ring. That is a really cool photograph as well. What an epic shot. I love this one here by Kyle Watts. This is a really cool city shot. I don't know where you've taken this. It's like Chicago or something, but that is pretty spectacular. That's awesome. And that is, oh, Lucas Doe photography. That is something else. Playing around with smoke bombs and everything like that is a lot of fun, and that is just one hell of a creative photograph right there. We'll have a look at a couple more today. That's really nice as well by Adam. I love that. You know, real nice shallow depth of field, really focused on the main subject as well, but also got the rest of the city in the background. That just combinates together perfectly as well. And we'll have a look at one more today. Alright, so for a final photograph, I'm just going to scroll randomly and stop, and ooh, there was a lot of good images to choose right here, but I'm going to choose that one. I'm not a Corvette kind of guy, but that is a really sick shot. That looks absolutely epic. I love that, the lights and everything like that, the headlights, oof. It just combines together real well. Robert Photography, you absolutely smashed it. If you want a chance of your work being featured at the end of one of my videos, make sure you use the hashtag CP photos over on Instagram. But that is where I'm going to be leaving today's video, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed it. If it has been helpful to you, make sure you hit the like button, maybe consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already, and turn on the bell icon so you're notified for whenever I release a new video. But until next time, everyone, keep creating, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.
How much value is that, Curtis?
£3.5 grand. It's the gimbal test. It's to test how well you can respond to it. Yes. This is the longest one. Whoa.
Oh.